Hey guys, it's Cece, and today I'm going to be talking about my favorite witchy stuff. So this was actually a requested video on Twitter. I asked if people had any Halloween video ideas, and someone asked if I would talk about some of my favorite witchy media, since I talk about the fact that I really like witch-themed stuff a lot. Sadly, before we get into this video, I should tell you that there are no, novels, no books on this list. I have a couple of graphic novels I'm going to talk about, but I have yet to read a book that really captures the kind of witch that I would like to see. So I'm going to be talking about shows, about movies, comics, graphic novels, a little bit of art, too, that I'm going to talk about, and that's pretty much it. I'm just going to talk about some of my favorite witchy stuff, and let's just get started. The first stuff I'm going to cover is all going to be TV shows, and we're going to start back where my love for witches all started, with Bewitched. So Bewitched was a show that started in the 60s, but when I was a kid, I spent a lot of time watching old television. My go-to channels were basically Boomerang and TV Land. This is where all the love began, and my favorite show to watch was Bewitched. It's about a classic American housewife named Samantha who is also a witch, and her husband doesn't know about it, and I loved it with my whole heart. I loved the shenanigans of it, I loved the magic and all of the characters, and I loved Samantha. Looking back on it, it's possible I was a little bit in love with Samantha. This isn't the kind of witch that I generally lean towards now, but it is the thing that got me started in my love of witches, and just earlier this year, I got to go to Salem, and I got to go and see the Samantha statue that's in Salem, and baby me was so very happy. The other thing that got me started in my love of witches was another kind of classic TV show, and that is Sabrina the Teenage Witch. Again, not the kind of witch stories that I lean towards now, but we should start at the beginning. Like Bewitched, I loved this show for its antics, its funny characters, and the magic, of course. It was just such a fun show, and I've got to admit, I'm excited, but also not excited about the fact that they are gonna make a new Sabrina the Teenage Witch show, because it's gonna be on the CW, and the CW has a habit of ruining the things I love. So just cross your fingers with me that the new Sabrina the Teenage Witch is really, really fun. I would love if it was fun. I've been missing the show, and I'd love to see a newer, reinterpretation of it. Continuing on talking about TV shows, I want to talk about Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Of course. The witches in the show are also lesbians. Not all of them, but the main witches. I love witches, but I especially love witches that their plot is also about sexuality, or in general, queer witches. So because of that, Buffy is one of my absolute favorite pieces of witch media. It covers so many ups and downs of these characters' lives. It's dark, but it's also hopeful. I've talked about Buffy in 100 other videos. I just adore it, and this is yet another reason why. And the final TV show I'm going to talk about is American Horror Story Coven. This is not my favorite season of American Horror Story. It is my second favorite season, though, and it's because witches. So much of the show is just aesthetically on point, and it is the kind of witch story that I'm interested in. It's incredibly female driven and based on female relationships. There are so many different types of magic. I love witch stories because so often it gives an excuse to focus exclusively on relationships between women. My least favorite part of this season of American Horror Story is easily the fact that halfway through it starts being about a men's organization, and I don't care at all. But I love the style of the season. I love that Stevie Nicks makes an appearance. Misty Day is one of my favorite characters. I just adore so much about this world and this story, and I love Coven. So let's get into some movies. I have some children's movies to talk about, and I hope you're ready. Going way back to the beginning of my witch love, we could talk about Hocus Pocus, which I still watch every single year. Bette Midler is such an icon, but especially in this movie, it would probably hurt her to hear that I think of her most as an icon because of Hocus Pocus. Even though the witches are a villain in the story, I don't care. I love them, and I love this movie, and what a formative experience watching Hocus Pocus as a child. Another kids movie about witches, Halloweentown! Halloweentown 1 and Halloweentown High, which is the third one, are my two favorites. I just really like these movies. I know they're kind of ridiculous and they're Disney Channel original movies, but I love them. My dad was actually in the fourth Halloweentown, which is too bad because I absolutely hate that one, so I never watch it. But again, I love that this is a family of witches embracing their power and these different generational stories between women. I love Debbie Reynolds. I love Debbie Reynolds in this. I think the reasons why the first one is one of my favorites is because I love the actual place, Halloweentown. I think it's really funny and interesting. And then I really like Halloweentown High because it incorporates magic into our world really well. I love Marnie so much. I have loved Marnie since I was a child, and I will love Marnie to the end of time. These movies, even if they're not great, are great. Okay, last kids movie, I promise. I want to talk about Scooby-Doo and the Witch's Ghost. Do you guys want to know how much I love Scooby-Doo and the Witch's Ghost? I have the t-shirt. I love this t-shirt. It's one of my favorite items of clothing that I own. Scooby-Doo has been my favorite show since I was a kid. I just never grew out of it. I barely purchased Scooby-Doo art when I was at Comic-Con like a month ago because I haven't grown out of it. And I just rewatched Scooby-Doo and the Witch's Ghost and Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island like 2 days ago because I watch those every year also. So I couldn't not put Scooby-Doo on this list. I think The Witch is great, but honestly, I also love the Stephen King stand-in that's Ben Ravencroft as played by Tim Curry. Plus, this movie is the introduction to the Hex Girls, and oh, how I love them. But yeah, I think this is a great witch movie, even if it's an hour-long animated Scooby-Doo movie. It is fantastic, and I love it. Okay, I'll talk about one witch movie that isn't a kid's movie, and that is The Craft. Yet another thing that they are remaking or reimagining in the coming year, and I'm so nervous about it. I feel like we should just leave it at this movie. The Craft is a little over the top at times, or maybe not the perfect movie, but it is perfect to me. It has that focus on relationships between women that I love. It has those kind of queer undertones that I'm after. And it's really creepy and spooky. It focuses on the darkness of witchcraft, and it's so good. I would absolutely love if there were more movies like this about witches, especially like teen witches. I'm so into teen witches. But I just wish there were more movies like this, not a remake of this, because I think we should leave this alone. Anyway, I love The Craft, even though there is a scene at the end with bugs that has haunted me for years. It's great. I want to talk about a couple of art series now because they just kind of capture what I love about witch stuff. The first is a series by Raymond Ashley, I think, on Tumblr. She does an art series of witches and their familiars that's just really, really beautiful. And the point is kind of that the familiars and the witches really reflect one another, and it's such a great collection of art. There's not just a focus on white witches, which frequently happens, as you've probably seen in the media I've already talked about. These are just really nice in general. I would love if they did more art like this. It's really pretty. The other online thing I want to talk about is the Cornerwitch webcomic, which is by Charmingly Antiquated. The first thing I ever saw was just the single Cornerwitch webcomic, and it is so fantastic. About a girl who keeps coming back to see the Corner Witch to ask for more things, but as she keeps going to the Corner Witch, they're slowly starting to fall for one another. So like, it's a witch story, it's really magical and kind of creepy, and it's also a love story. Fantastic. And Charmingly Antiquated, which is an artist named Sam, has a ton of other really awesome content online that is really witchy or based on folklore that I also really recommend. She just captures this world so beautifully, and I love all of what she does, but especially as it relates to witches. And the last two things I'm going to talk about are both graphic novels. First of all, we have Power and Magic. This is the Queer Witch Comics Anthology. First of all, this is kind of a balm to the less diverse nature of witch media. It's a collection of 17 stories by women, demigirls, and bigender creators of color. For the most part, it's a collection about queer witches being happy or recovering from depression or dealing with other mental illnesses. It's about reaching out and connecting. It's an absolutely beautiful collection, and what's really exciting is that the creators of Power and Magic are doing another one of these. It's not out yet, but it did get fully funded on Kickstarter, and I can't wait to pick up that one too because I loved everything about this. And the final thing I want to talk about is Spell on Wheels Volume 1 by Kate Leth, Megan Levins, and Marissa Louise. This comic is about three girls, Andy, Jolene, and Claire, and when one of their exes breaks into their house and takes something of theirs, then the three girls set off on a road trip to get revenge and to get all their stuff back. One of the original reasons I found this comic is because I love Kate Leth so much. And I'm so glad I did because this is actually up there as one of my favorite pieces of witch media. It's about modern witches. One of the witches is queer. It's got elements of Supernatural and Buffy, which are both things I love. It's gorgeous to look at. The art is just fantastic, and I would willingly read 100 volumes of this. Sadly, this is the only volume that's ever going to exist, but it does have a full wrapped up story that you can read and really, really enjoy. Like, this is a road trip magical revenge story starring 3 witches. What more could you want? It's everything. Okay guys, there you go. Those are all of my favorite witchy things in media. Hopefully someday some books will be added to this list. I would absolutely love that. But for now, I hope you enjoyed hearing my list. What are some of your favorite pieces of witchy media? Let me know down in the comments below so I can check all of it out. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in another video very soon. Bye!